Welcome to Couchversations with Dr. Adrienne. Start Living Your Best Life Part 2 for the Black Heritage Arts Festival. I am so thankful and grateful to be here with you to share some nuggets of hopefully wisdom for how you can start to live your best life. And so if you didn't get a chance, please go back and check out Part 1 of Start Living Your Best Life, where I talked about taking off the mask, being happy, and making sure that you understand the thoughts that you have and how they control your actions and behaviors. So I want to jump into part 2, Start Living Your Best Life. And I want to start by reading an excerpt from my book, The ABCs of Life, Daily Inspirations for Practical Living, which can be found on Amazon, or you can contact me directly at drahberry@comcast.net to get a copy. But this is entitled On Growth. Change is a process and not an event. Change brings on reward, and the greater the growth, the greater the reward. Change is a matter of association and actions and occurs when we tend to see it as personal. I need to change. Possible, I am able to change. And profitable, I will be rewarded by the change. Awareness is the beginning of change, because if we are not aware that a problem exists, it becomes impossible to seek a solution. We change when we learn enough that we want to change. We receive enough that we are able to change. We hurt enough that we have to change, and we submit or yield enough that we allow ourselves to change. True change occurs when we want to change, know how to change, know what to change, and have the right plan, perspective, and possibilities. The plan provides the direction that we need for change to occur. Our perspective about instituting necessary changes will affect our acceptance and impact of the change, and the possibilities of new people, places, and opportunities that will be brought into our lives by virtue of working towards the change will all influence the ability for true change to occur. Don't wait for change to happen. Make it happen. Don't wait for change to happen. Make it happen. Unless you attempt something that you've never tried, you will never grow. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to bloom and blossom. So the first thing that I want to talk about as we talk about how to sustain change is why we stay stuck. Because a lot of times we talk about how we want to do different, be different, and make some changes in terms of relationships and people and places and jobs and all this stuff. And then we find a few months later or 365 days later that we haven't changed a thing. But there are reasons why we stay stuck. So I want to talk about those before I talk about how to actually make some change. So part 1, why we stay stuck. The key to change isn't just gathering information and goal setting, it's taking action. No one transforms simply by reading and understanding. They must do. Change is to exchange one thing for another. Transformation is a complete change in the appearance or character of something or someone, especially so that the thing or person is improved. Change to exchange someone or something for another, someone or something completely so that the thing or person is improved. In order to change, we must be willing to act in a way differently from what brings us comfort. What keeps us stuck? Number 1, being blind to being blind. Blind spots are normal and natural and come from what makes us who we are: upbringing, education, experiences. We must recalibrate the lens that we view the world through by actively seeking new knowledge, opinions, and insight to expand your capacity to move. Limiting your thinking to your thinking will limit where you can go. Number 2, the desire to be comfortable. We want to be right, comfortable, and safe, but to truly exchange and transform, we must get comfortable with the idea that change may be uncomfortable. Anything designed to grow us requires us to be pulled and stretched outside of our normal. Number three, what keeps us stuck? Confusing opinions with learning. Opinions are not fact-based, they are feeling-based. Assess the value and power of your opinions and the opinions of others, but don't confuse them with knowledge and fact-based learning. Opinions should have a place, but are more often misplaced onto us and accepted by us and cause us to question and second guess how we should move and take action. Number four, what keeps you stuck? The desire for instant gratification. We want what we want when we want it, which is usually now. But in order to exchange something or someone, we have to be truly willing to learn and commit to practice or doing the thing required for the transformation. Number five, thinking but not doing keeps you stuck. Developing new habits and skills takes practice in real time with real people, with real impacts and personal risk. Processing is movement from the problem toward solution. Number six, chasing the next big thing keeps you stuck. There are no quick fixes and gimmicks. Building authentic competence and new knowledge requires sticking with your exchange process. Number seven, the belief that change is private. Sustainable change and transformation is a social process. We learn best and most easily among a community of committed learners and exchangers. The self-help style of change is often a delusion that is encouraged through webinars or reading or private listening of self-help tools. Humans learn best when they learn from each other, which is why it is important to have a mentor or to mentor. Unstick yourself by recognizing what keeps you stuck. Change is to exchange one thing for another. Change to exchange someone or something for another someone or something completely so that the thing or person is improved. So as you can see, a lot of times it's not just about making a declaration that I'm going to change. I'm going to stop something or start something new. It's about recognizing what's keeping you stuck. And so more often than not, our sticking comes from our thinking. And so whether it's the things from our past that have influenced where we are in our lives or where we view that we are in our lives, or whether it's something that somebody has told you or some experience that you've had, but a lot of times our fears and our procrastinations keep us in this mode of being stuck. And as a result, we can have the desire to change, which is to exchange something or someone for something or someone else. But unless we make the steps necessary and move from the thought process of wanting to change to actually doing things different in our lives, we don't change. We stay stuck. And so in order for us to move forward, you got to know what keeps you stuck. And so quickly, being blind to being blind will keep you stuck. Blind spots are normal and natural and come from what makes us who we are, our upbringing and our experiences. We must recalibrate the lens, actively seek new knowledge, If you keep thinking the same stuff that you were taught, you can't get to a different place. Number 2, what keeps you stuck? You stay stuck because you want to be comfortable in what you know, who you know, where you've been, and you don't want to stretch outside of your comfort zone to learn something or someone new. It'll keep you stuck. Number 3, confusing opinions with learning. Opinions are not facts. They are based on feelings. Assess the value and power of your opinions and the opinions of others, but don't confuse them with knowledge and fact-based learning. Opinions should have a place, but are more often misplaced onto us and accepted by us and cause us to question and second guess how we should move and take action. My father used to say that an opinion was like an a-hole, and everybody had one, and sometimes you got to keep yours to yourself. But we live our lives oftentimes based on the opinions that other people have placed on us, causing us to wear those masks that I talked about in Start Living Your Best Life Part 1. So stop listening to everybody's opinions. Stop valuing everybody's opinions, and stop allowing everybody's opinions to influence your thought process. Number 4, the desire for instant gratification. We want it now and we don't want to wait. Well, change is a process. And so when you talk about exchanging something and someone for something and someone else, you have to recognize that that transformation is a process. It's not like instant rice that you pop into the microwave and you heat it up and boom, it's done. It's going to cause you to have to wait. Sometimes you got to let it marinate. Sometimes you got to go back and redo some things as you are transforming from one thing into something else. What keeps you stuck? Number 5, thinking but not doing. You know, some people are the greatest thinkers and they have all these ideas and they have all these dreams and goals. But what keeps them stuck is that they never move from their thought process to execution. And so as a result of that, they'll sit back and they'll see that this great grand idea that God gave to them, he also gave to someone else who decided to act and move on it. So what keeps you stuck is sitting with your thoughts and not moving yourself to action. You have to develop new habits and skills and practice them in order to process moving from a problem into a solution. Because just talking about the problem but not doing something different only keeps you rooted in the problem. Number 6, chasing the next big thing. There are no gimmicks and quick fixes. Building authentic competence and new knowledge requires sticking with your exchange process. So don't beat yourself up when you're trying something new and you slide back into your old. Because guess what, y'all? That's natural. It's normal. It takes some time to learn a new thing and unlearn an old thing. So don't beat yourself up about it. Recognize when you are backsliding into your old habits so that you don't stay back there and you continue to propel yourself forward. Number 7, the belief that change is private will keep you stuck. Sustainable change and transformation is a social process. You have to have accountability partners that you trust, who know that you are trying to stop or start doing a new person, place, or thing in your life. And it is important that you have people that you can authentically trust, because they're going to be the ones who can hold you accountable, but can do it in a way that is loving, and so that it does not feel like it is a criticism or a condemnation of who it is that you are, but that they recognize that your transformation and your exchange from one thing to something else or to someone else is a process. So that's the first part of part 2, living your best life. In order to make change, we have to recognize what keeps us stuck. Now let's talk about how to unstick yourself, breaking habits to make the change, because we are comfortable doing our normal. And so the moment that you recognize that it's time for you to do a new thing, it takes more than your declaration of wanting to do a new thing. It takes you breaking some habits that have been a part of your life in order to move you to something else. So here goes. 40% of the decisions made daily aren't decisions, they're habits. Most times we are simply doing things that we've always done. Changing a habit isn't easy, but it is doable. How to break habits to make change. Number 1, redefine must. Very little of what we do throughout the day is actually a must do. Everything we do is based on some amount of reasoning, but must is a feeling that results from a habit. Example, coffee drinkers. You drink coffee, you like the kick, and now it's a part of your ritual that feels indispensable. Having the coffee is a want, not a must. We often categorize our actions in terms of must because we feel better about justifying them if they're classified that way. I started drinking coffee at 45 years old. That was just 7.5 years ago, y'all. Was not a coffee drinker. Was fine in my life without coffee. And I started drinking it and I developed a habit. Then I developed a taste for coffee because I think that the habit for me was in place before the taste. And now I enjoy the taste, but what I recognize is that not only do I enjoy the taste, it is a part of my daily routine. And when I go outside of my normal routine or habit of having it by a certain time, now my body is responding to the lack of the caffeine. And so I'll get a headache because I haven't had that coffee by a certain time. So is it a must for me? Probably not. I'm sure that I could stop drinking coffee, but I'm enjoying it. But I encourage you, as you talk about a habit that you want to break, you got to redefine must. Number 2, determine the cue. Every habit is based on a simple loop. Cue, routine, reward. The cue is the trigger that shifts our brains into autopilot and pump starts the routine. Whenever we feel an urge for a habit, that urge is the cue. So I'll use the coffee. And again, in my life, I'm not trying to give up coffee, but here the cue would be the headache that I get when I have not had the coffee by a certain time, which then pushes me to my routine to go and get the coffee, which then leads to the reward, which is the headache dissipating and me getting whatever energy it is that I get from the caffeine. Now, again, in my case, I am not looking to get rid of the coffee. I'm good with it. I am enjoying being a coffee drinker. But if I were, where there are habits that you want to change, you have to understand what the cue is for you. For a lot of people that struggle with eating disorders or unhealthy eating and exercise routines, if you are an emotional eater, you got to recognize what the cue is. And so if things happen in your life that then cause an emotional response and you find yourself reaching for food that may or may not be healthy, but just as a part of your habit, you are dealing with food instead of dealing with your emotions. You have to understand that it's the emotional act that is then causing the cue, which is to then go and get something to eat instead of dealing with your emotions and feelings. Number 3, determine the routine. Your routine is the manifestation of the habit. It's what you're doing. So if you have an emotional event that takes place in your life and your response to emotions has been, let me go and get a cookie. Let me go and get some ice cream because it makes me feel better. You got to understand what the cue is, the emotional event, but also what your routine has been, which is go and reach for food that is going to bring you comfort. Number 4, you got to determine the reward. The reward isn't always easy to identify. Sometimes our reward is control. Think about what craving you're having and what craving is actually fulfilling in terms of your habit. Work hard to identify the reward that's associated with a behavior you want to change, because to change a habit, the reward should remain the same, but the process to getting to the reward should be more positive and productive. So let's stick with the cookie or the ice cream. So the cue, an emotional event takes place in your life. Your habit has been to go and to reach for a cookie or to reach for some ice cream because you feel like what it does is it's going to release some feel good endorphins inside of your body. So now, if that is the reward that takes you away from whatever the upsetting feelings that you are having that's been associated with the cue and the emotional event. And so now you found a way that when you are upset, you can calm yourself, you can make yourself feel better, you can make yourself feel happier by reaching for something, a cookie or ice cream or French fries, whatever it is, because those foods now shift your mindset into a different physiological response to the emotional event. You are actually releasing some happy endorphins now. Well, the reward is the way you feel after you've eaten whatever it is that you reach for. French fries, some folk, they think it's alcohol, potato chips, ice cream, whatever it is. The endorphins that are released that are now making you feel happy are the reward, at least temporarily, because usually, y'all, it's temporary. So what you have to do is now you got to replace those habits, which is eating, which is probably not healthy for you, not, healthy for your body, not healthy for what you feel after you've eaten them, with something else that will bring the reward of you feeling happy. For a lot of people, y'all, that's exercise. For somebody else, it might be journaling. So you have to find a habit to replace the habit that you want to get rid of. So if you are an emotional eater and you tend to reach for foods that are going to temporarily make you feel better in the moment, but not in the long run, you have to replace those foods and that behavior with another behavior that is going to cause you to feel happy and satisfied. For some people, it might be putting on some music and getting up dancing. For some other people, it might be an accountability person in their lives that they can call, have a conversation with, get some encouragement from, some prayer from, that's going to make them feel better. So, change the routine is number 5. Now that you've identified the cue and reward, insert a new routine that is triggered by your cue that also satisfies your current reward. And that's what I just talked about. You got to replace the habit with something else so that you can exchange. Stop doing the one thing and change it for something else that is healthier for you, better for you. And number 6 is write it down. The easiest way to implement a new habit is to write a plan with a very simple format. When, and in parentheses, I have the cue. So when I am upset, I will, the routine, go and walk because it gives me the reward, a feeling of calm when I do it. So when I am upset, I will go and walk because it gives me a sense of peace and calm. So it's identifying what it is that you know your habit is that's not working in your life. Not because somebody else said it wasn't working in your life, but because you know it's not working in your life. And it's finding something different to exchange for your old habit so that you can get the same reward, but from a new habit. Even if you have a habit that makes you feel guilty or bad about yourself, you are not likely to stop it unless you come up with another way to deal with it. Something positive must be put in place. Positive can also mean painful, dealing with your feelings instead of numbing them with food, alcohol, weed, or video games. Get an accountability partner that you can trust, but choose wisely. Don't expect someone with your same habits to hold you accountable for changing them. It's a myth that it takes 28 days to get free of a bad habit. Bad habits are hard to break because they're habits. Most people need about 90 days to exchange one behavior for another. And it can be impacted by our personalities, stress level, and support systems. Give yourself permission to slip, not slide. To slip up, if you slip up, don't give up. The slip up is a clue into the stressors that take you away from your good intentions and tells you what you might need to change in order to stay on track. So y'all, there it is. Start living your best life, part 2. How to sustain change. First part of sustaining change is understanding why you stay stuck. And staying stuck is a result of several things that are part of our habits and our routines. The key to change isn't just gathering information and goal setting, it's taking action. No one transforms simply by reading and understanding. They must do. Change is to exchange one thing for another. Transformation is a complete change in the appearance or character of something or someone, especially so that the thing or person is improved. Change, to exchange someone or something for another someone or something completely so that you are changed and improved. So in order to start living your best life, you got to change, that is to exchange the things in your life that aren't working for you. And that's the people, places, and things. In order to do that, you got to understand why you stand stuck. Because a revelation that you want to do a new thing is nothing without a plan to do a new thing. And in order to actually do a new thing, you got to know why you're staying stuck. But then you got to know how to break the habits that are keeping you stuck. A big part of that, y'all, is about who you allow to be a part of your journey. And so I encourage you, don't just set resolutions 365 days a year. Every 365 days, set resolutions. Resolve to be your best self every single day. Look at the people, places, and things in your life at the end of every day. Determine which ones added value to you and which ones took away from you. Don't be afraid to do new things and new people. It's okay if you recognize that some of the people that have been along and a part of your journey are not adding value to you. It's okay for you to accept that you have worn a mask, because that's not a condemnation. It's not a condemnation of yourself to recognize that you've been living a life that somebody else said you should be living. The real gold in you changing, exchanging, and becoming the best you possible is recognizing when you've worn a mask, but more importantly, when you take off the mask. Stop looking for other people to be a part of your happiness formula. You are who makes you happy. And when you hand that responsibility over to a different person, place, or thing outside of yourself, you run the risk of living a life that is unhappy, that is stressful, and that you are looking for forces outside of you, external stimuli, in order to reach your happiness goal. So start living your best life. Take off the mask. Define happy and success for yourself. Understand what keeps you stuck from making the changes that you say that you want to make that will make you your best self. And get a plan and execute. Don't just talk about it, be about it. We are in the beginning of a brand new year, coming out of a year that has been something that none of us have ever seen. But every single day that you live and breathe is a new opportunity for you to be a new you and to be a better you. So start living your best life. Thank you so much for joining Couchversations with Dr. Adrienne for the Black Heritage Arts Festival. I am so grateful and thankful that I was allowed to be a part of this journey. I invite you to join me every Thursday at 7 p.m. for Couchversations with Dr. Adrienne on the Jericho Broadcast Network. You can find us on Facebook, and you can either join myjbn.com or you can come and join Couchversations with Dr. Adrienne directly. I would love for you to go out there and purchase the ABCs of Life, Daily Inspirations for Practical Living. You can get it off of Amazon. But I am also the founder and CEO of TrueBlackEssentials.com. And we are a hypermarket where every product on every shelf will be Black owned, Black grown, and Black produced. And you can start shopping, or if you are an entrepreneur who has products, you can start selling on TrueBlackEssentials.com. And our plan is to still open up our very first store on June 19, 2021, where every product on every shelf in every aisle will be Black owned, Black grown, and Black produced. So there it is, Couchversations with Dr. Adrienne. Start living your best life, because you being your best self is your responsibility. You being happy is your responsibility. You giving back to the world can only happen when you are being your best self.